Yeah.
We know how that is. We were all talking about it.
Well, y'all know I ain't lying.
Yeah, we know.
Sheesh. All right, go. I pledge allegiance.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order now. We finally have a quorum, so if you don't mind, we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Lord, we just thank you so much for the amazing opportunities you give us in this great nation and for the opportunity to participate in local government. We just ask that you guide us, direct us, and give us wisdom, Lord, and that we make decisions that are proper for the citizens of Walton County. In Christ's name we pray, amen. All right. Mr. Hall, you gonna start us off? I guess you're gonna tell us about the continuances.
Well, and a few things. Mr. Chairman, good evening. My name is Steve Hall. I'm the land use attorney for Walton County. I am in the order of succession. Mr. Carpenter and all other assistants are unavailable, so it has fallen to me to MC tonight. I trust that I can be an asset rather than a liability to the good planning staff that I serve. We do have minutes to read. We have no announcements.
Right. I think we've, everybody's had a chance to read over the minutes. How about a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, the aforementioned request to table or continue, we have 3 items out of the 9 on the agenda that we have requests from either the applicant or the staff to table. That would be item number 2 under legislative, item number 6 under legislative, item number 7 under quasi-judicial. I believe our procedure has been to take a separate motion for each of those.
Okay.
And then we do have a request from third parties that have been submitted, and I do believe it's before you on item number 8 to be considered probably at the time that that comes up.
All right, we'll take them as they come up. So we'll start with number 2.
Number 2 is the Girl Scout RV Park Developer Agreement. The request to table has been made by the applicant to allow them to do some additional work on their developer's agreement and their overall master plan.
Motion to approve table.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 6, Mr. Chairman, is the Fishcamp Rezoning. A request to continue to a time certain on October 14th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Baronti has been working on this small-scale amendment, and there's an agreement between applicant and staff to continue it to that time certain.
Okay. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Tom, all in favor? Aye.
Finally, Mr. Chairman, item number 7 under quasi-judicial items, we have Bay Grove Motor Lodge and Food Court. Again, a request to continue to a time certain on October 14th, 2021. It is a major development order application being reviewed by Tim Brown. If I'm correct, we also have a pending administrative appeal of the director's determination in that matter.
Hold on just a second.
Move to continue.
All right. We have a motion.
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, that would deal with all the staff-related continuances or applicant-related continuances. It'll move us back to legislative items. The first one to hear tonight is number 3. It is the Walton County Civic Use LSA and zoning change. It's a request to approve by ordinance, and it's been handled by Stephen Schoen. You may be familiar and have followed the Foreman tract approval. and purchase. This is a cleanup amendment which deals with the institutional zoning rather than the private residential zoning on those parcels that have been purchased by the county. We'll ask Stephen Schoen to do the rest of the presentation for you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good evening. This is a large-scale future land use map amendment and rezoning application submitted by Walton County Planning and Development Services on behalf of Walton County, requesting to change the current future land use designations from residential and conservation to public facilities and institutional, and to change the official zoning map from conservation residential 2-to-1, neighborhood infill and conservation to institutional on approximately 220 plus or minus acres. Subject lands are generally located south of Chat Holly and west of Nellie Drive and can be identified by the parcel numbers in your staff report, which I would like entered into the record if I could, please.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I would also like to enter into the record 2 handouts marked number 3. They are a letter and objection, and then the engineering comments as well, if I could have those entered.
Okay.
Thank you. The staff report, as you can see, identifies that the proposed changes do satisfy the code requirements, land development code, and the comprehensive plan requirements for the proposed changes. I'm here to answer any questions you may have of the proposed.
Any questions for staff? All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I don't guess we have an applicant, so we'll open it up for public comments. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Seeing none, and we're not doing Zoom, are we? All right, good. I like that.
Motion to pass.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is item number 4 under legislative items. This is actually a request to approve by ordinance. It's first reading of changes to the floodplain protection and damage prevention sections of the Land Development Code. Text amendments only. At this point, we have Jason Catalano, who has been working with this for a number of years, an eminent expert on floodplain protection provisions. And what I think you will find is that it is not a substantive change to our ordinances. It's merely a cleanup and an update in relation to several federal programs that we're engaged in.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Evening, board. As Mr. Hall had stated, we are a member of the Community Rating System, the CRS program, where we receive a reduction in flood premiums for our policyholders within Walton County because of the higher regulatory standards that we've adopted and apply to development within the floodplain. We work with the state Florida Department of Emergency Management. And they have what's called the model ordinance of language that they would prefer us to use. And so we've been working with that department, and the changes that you see are in an effort to bring consistency between our ordinance and that, and as well as some updates with our new flood insurance rate map that was adopted, went into effect December 30th of 2020. There is a staff report that highlights some of all of the changes and the context of why. But if there's any questions to any of those, I'll be happy to answer them. But this is an effort with us to coordinate with the state as well as staying consistent with the CRS program. There's been some new prerequisites from that program that they want to see in our ordinance. So that's this will keep us in good standing with that and continuing to provide those savings on to our property owners and citizens of Walton County.
All right. Y'all got any questions for staff? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll open this up to public comments. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this? Seeing none, we will close public comments. And commissioners,
Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we're still in the legislative portion of the meeting, and we have another not unusual, but not usual abandonment request. It's from the area inside the Topsail Hill Preserve State Park boundary. It's an abandonment of La Playa Estates platted roadways. Renee Bradley is the planner who's been working on this. This is an abandonment request, again, from the Department of Environmental Protection, asking for the abandonment of these roadways of an old abandoned subdivision.
Okay. Ms. Bradley?
Evening. This is an abandonment, as Steve has said, with a request submitted by the State of Florida Department of Environmental Protection. They're requesting to abandon the roads within Block A and Block B of La Playa Estates. This is located in Plat Book 3, page 48. The roads to be abandoned are Jackson Drive, Corey Lane, Jolly Drive, and Kelly Drive, Glen Road, and Brook Road. The future land use that is surrounding this is conservation and residential, as well as we have a zoning of conservation and residential preservation. It's located in District 5. The only comments that we have on this project is from Public Works, which is the norm. There's no other outstanding comments, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions for the board if you have any. I'd like to enter staff report into the record, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You got any questions for staff? You may not get another shot. All right, then we'll open it to public comments. Does anybody in the public like to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commissioner. I'm Steve Cutshaw, the Chief of the Office of Park Planning for Florida Park Service. You may recognize the last name. There's a fellow a few inches taller than me that is a great employee of your own with Walton County, my younger brother. But it's good to see everyone. I want to thank you, Renee, thank you for all your help in this matter. Staff's been great, and it's a good process for us just to clean up for resource management and different things within Topsail Hill. But we greatly appreciate your efforts and your discussion this evening. If I could answer anything, I'll be happy to do so.
Anybody got any questions? You're looking like you want to ask somebody something.
So these are just road abandonments?
Yes, sir. We found them by accident that they were still on the plats, the platted books from the old La Playa estates, and they're completely surrounded within the park, within the Topsail Hill State Park. They don't touch anything else but park property, and we discussed how to go about it, getting them removed, just so there's not a conflict at any point. So the abandonment was the process that we understood.
This is state property,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
main state property.
Yes, sir. 100%.
Cleared it up for me.
I know it was a little iffy on me too at the beginning. It was. It sure was.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else in the audience want to speak on this? All right, we'll close public comments. Commissioners,
Move to approve.
motion?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bradley. Care.
Mr. Chairman, this will move us into the quasi-judicial section of the meeting. I don't believe we've sworn anybody yet.
That's correct. Anybody wishing to speak on the remaining items on tonight's agenda needs to stand, raise their right hand, and repeat after me. I do hereby swear or affirm that the testimony I present will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Audience and staff are sworn.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hall?
Mr. Chairman, is item number 8, Sanctuary Apartments, PUD Phase 3. This is a major project application that's been reviewed by Bob Baronti, and he has been working on it intensely for about a year, so I'm going to defer to his planning expertise and let him do the introduction on the item.
About a year. Mr. Baronti?
As Mr. Hall said, this is the Sanctuary Apartments Phase 3. It's project MAJ 20000014. This is a major development application submitted by William Pope requesting to construct up to 96 dwelling units assigned to Phase 3 on approximately 14.38 plus or minus acres, with a future land use of residential and mixed use and a zoning district of residential preservation small neighborhood. Just the parcel number is in your staff report. Mr. Chair, may I enter the correspondence and the staff report into record?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, as Steve said, this project has been in the review process for quite a while. Before we move into the introduction of the project, you have 2 requests there from citizens, not staff, requesting to 1 table and 2 continue. Would you like to go over that matter first?
Yes, sir. Let's do that.
Okay.
Mr. Hall, did you have, what is the procedure on this? We've got people that are asking us to table it, but, I mean, this thing's been, it's been with the planning department for some time, apparently, for, you said a year, Mr. Bronte? Over a year? Why has it been taking so long?
A mixture of issues, getting it to meet the comprehensive plan and meeting many times with the agent.
Okay.
It's just been a long, drawn-out process, but as you will hear in your staff report, it meets the comprehensive plan.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the board has once we get a request from a third party for continuance, the board has the discretion, and your council may also have advice on this, has the discretion to either take up the request for continuance and hear them from the people who have made the request, or to ask questions of staff, as you already had, in order to address the requests that are out there. The reason that we're bringing it up prior to the presentation by the applicant is that, it may be efficient if the board feels, once it hears the reasons for the request for continuance, it may be more efficient to hear that first rather than go through the body of the presentation before we hear it.
And I believe it appropriate to take up the request for a continuance and then allow the applicant to state their position on the continuance. Now, their position is not controlling, but at least have the issues presented. Obviously, it's a third-party request. No determination is necessarily made as to whether this is a real party in interest, whether they would have any standing in a legal proceeding. But because this is a quasi-judicial proceeding, it is perfectly appropriate to accept that. Should at the future time they be determined to be a real party in interest and you have not at least heard theirs, you've exposed yourself to more jeopardy. So that's why we take them up first in the best form of action. So if we can hear the reasons for the continuance, then allow the applicant to state their position, whether they object to the continuance or in agreement.
And Mr. Chairman, we do have a memo before you from the attorney for the applicant who clearly states their objection to the request for continuance.
Yes. Okay. All right, then I guess we need to hear from whoever is asking for the continuance.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Barber. I'm appearing on behalf of some of the homeowners for the Magnolia subdivision, which butts the preserve right there. And basically, they moved for a continuance in this matter for a variety of reasons. Also, at the beginning, I'd like to see if I could. Okay, they do. Okay, great. So there's a series of issues which basically the homeowners were recently made aware of. Some of which may be outlined in the staff report, some of which may have been addressed perhaps subsequently through meetings. But regardless, these are important issues that these homeowners noticed, and they wanted to make their position known. So starting with the beginning, basically Cedar Street and the roadways throughout the Magnolia subdivision were never intended as part of the original PUD to be used for ingress and egress by the sanctuary. Secondly, the original PUD, it appears, called for 24 acres approximately of wetland area. It seems as though as part of the current site plan layout, which I'm not sure if you all have a copy of. I have a copy here, which I can introduce into the record. I'm not sure if.
Got the layout?
Okay, yes. It indicates there on the layouts, it's kind of hard to see. But in the type, it does say that there's 16 acres of total wetland as opposed to the 24, which were originally contemplated. There's no apparent explanation for this discrepancy, and that was also troubling to the homeowners. As far as the floodplain review, I believe on or about July 13, there was a review which was conducted. I believe Mr. Baronti's probably well aware of this, but essentially it said that there was some issues with the comp plan and the land development code as far as compensation for the storage to offset the 24,582 cubic yards of fill, which were going to be instituted as part of this development. There's also the transportation concurrency review, which indicated that the project does not meet the Walton County transportation concurrency requirements under Chapter 3 of the Land Development Code. And then last but not least, it's also noted in the staff report on, I believe it's page 2, that the northern access road has to be approved in order for this project to even make it to the BCC in the first place. So there's really no harm, at least from the perspective of the homeowners, of this tabling of this project. So there's a series of issues, like I said, which the homeowners have recently been made aware of, and they wanted to make these known to the commission here, and also to ask the commission to table this issue. With that, I'll take any questions that you happen to have.
Yeah, when were you made aware of them? Have y'all received proper notification? Have they had a meeting with y'all?
So I believe that there was some recent advertisement. As far as the actual nature of any communications between the homeowners and the folks who are developing this, it's kind of difficult for me to say. From my understanding, this was continued several times. There was initially notice that was put out, and then relatively recently there was notice which was put out. But I don't think, at least from my understanding, I don't think that there was a lot of robust communication. However, I could be wrong about that, but my understanding at least was that there was not a lot of communication going on.
Mr. Baronti can probably answer.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there was numerous communication. There was 2 public meetings that were held close on the property site. That road access has been there from the beginning. This project was properly notified, advertised, and posted. It's met the requirements of the LDC, and the applicant has gone beyond what we've asked them to do for public input.
Thank you, sir.
So in that case, I stand corrected. I didn't want to make any misrepresentations, but I was just merely going off of, we didn't cover that specific issue with some of my clients and I, so just wanted to make that clear. Is there any other questions?
Do y'all have any other questions for, what was your name again? I'm sorry.
My name's Stephen Barber.
Stephen Barber.
And you represent?
The Magnolia Subdivision homeowners. It's a subdivision that's directly adjacent to the sanctuary. I have a graphic here. I'm not sure if it would be helpful, but basically,
Is that the top?
Yeah, it's right at the top, right next to
Left,
to the bay. I guess the road that runs in between the tackle shop and the bay itself kind of leads directly into there, and that's
Cedar Road runs through it?
yes, that's right, Cedar Road.
Cedar Street, sorry.
Street, yeah.
Hold on just a second, we'll get to you. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
No, with public comments, we're gonna take,
No, I just met him today. I was trying to help him answer that question.
okay, well, we'll give you a chance in just a second, you can come up and talk. Did y'all have any other questions for?
So you represent how many people? How many Walton County citizens?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. However, some of the
Roughly.
homeowners here who are, I would say, it's probably in the dozens, less than, hundreds, but more than a few. It's difficult for
Are
me
you
to say.
representing everybody listed on item number 8 that is on the, available to the board here on their packet that's listed the property owners of Magnolia Subdivision. Is that accurate?
To my understanding, yes, correct.
So that's who you're representing?
Correct.
All right, have you seen this document?
Yes, I presented that, or I was going to present that into the record, but I was told that that's already been,
So it's in the record, so you represent each of these individuals. Is there a formal homeowners association for Magnolia Subdivision?
that's unclear, actually. There's not, okay, but there is obviously there's a consensus that's been reached, at least with the folks who affixed their name to that letter.
But if there's not a formal association, he can represent a loose grouping of citizens without a formal resolution or declaration, so.
Are you a member of the
Representative.
Florida Bar?
Yes.
Any other questions?
It'll come out as we talk, hear from the citizens. I'll
Yeah.
have some.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Any other, anybody else in the audience want to speak on this? Yes, sir.
I might ask, just for a point of limitation, we are taking some testimony strictly on the question of the need for a continuance.
Correct, this
Rather
is
than
not,
general opposition to the project. So if we can
Yeah,
maybe
this is
limit
just for the
our
continuance.
framework to that discussion, we'll have plenty of time if we consider the item to hear the rest.
Right.
and understand to the extent you hear anything during this portion of the agenda that may be supportive or in opposition to the project, I'm hereby instructing the board to disregard that unless it is then presented to you during the actual hearing. This is solely as to the merits of a continuance.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah, come on up. And like I said, we're taking this, we're not hearing this as far as, oh, you didn't get sworn in, so.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I do hereby swear or affirm
I hereby swear or affirm
that the testimony I present
testimony I present,
will be the truth,
the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the
and
truth.
nothing but the truth.
He is sworn, and again, we're taking testimony solely on the issuance of to continue or not to continue the project.
Yeah, whether we're gonna,
Yeah, I just want to answer the question. I just met with Stephen today. Hal Laird, 140 Bay Magnolia Lane. Just feel like, just want to pump the brakes a little bit with the holiday, and all of a sudden the sign went up. We didn't have time to make public records requests. It's a lot of moving parts. And we just need the time to wrap our head around it. And it's just, I just kind of wanted to clear that up. We don't have a homeowner association. We're just a group of citizens who got together and said, hey, we're just trying to understand what's going on real quick. You know, we had I think it was a community meeting, June of 20. The project's changed since then. And now we just get notification on a little map, and here we are, you know. So I just wanted to add that. Kind of went back to the question y'all had for him.
okay. All right, thanks, sir. Anybody, y'all got any questions for Mr. Laird?
Chair, they had full access to the complete citizen serve. In fact, I talked to Mr. Laird personally. All the information is in citizen serve.
Did it? Okay, thanks, sir.
I mean, the phase 3 is, but none of the conceptual PUD, none of the technical PUD on the first phase, nothing about phase 2, if that even exists. Nothing's there. It's just what you want to do. Contingent on this baseline you created under the this PUD. So explain the PUD, then show what it's there, but y'all don't do that.
I disagree, sir. Mr. Chair.
We disagree.
Bob, can you give me a date, an actual date, when y'all submitted all that?
What, the project first was
Or
submitted?
when they got their information, when y'all,
The regular,
June the 20th?
I mean, I have proof that they were given all the notification, just like any other citizen would per the LDC.
August 27th. That's when I got mine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I mean, I have a affidavit of posting, I have pictures of the posting, I have affidavit of the certified mail affidavit, I have photocopies of the certified mail and the list of the people it went to. Mr. Chair, we believe that everything in the land development code was met. If I didn't, I would be asking for a continuance, and you know we've done it in the past.
Yes, all right. I did, the timeframe on when they had the community meeting, how long ago was that?
I don't recall, the agent
Oh,
will.
Mr. Laird said it a while ago. What was that? Okay, thank you. All right,
Could we have Mr. Pope, the applicant, come up and speak to that?
absolutely.
Let's take all public comment that wants to be done.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Then we'll answer the question. Mr. Pope, if you'll wait just a second, we'll get you to answer all the questions that come up when we've gotten them all. Mr. Laird, you got something else?
Yes, sir, I was gonna submit to you exactly what we received.
Okay,
But
just hand it to her.
just for the record, I don't dispute anything Mr. Bob said about Phase 3, but this is Phase 3 of a conceptual PUD that was done in 2000 and created in 2009. Here we are 13 years later, and when they get up there, you read the staff report, you read everything, based on the 2009 final order of August 11th, 2009. Then you get what they're presenting today. You get no history. They've moved conservation easements, or currently in this phase. They've moved, bringing a ton of fill, over, I think, was it 24,582 cubic yards of fill in the floodplain. All these things are being done. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but we'd like to know. I mean, I can't remember some 13 years ago, so give a brief history. Remind us what the PUD is. Put it on CitizenServe. Let us look at it. Put all the documents there. They didn't. It's just Phase 3.
All right,
What they want to do today. That's it.
all right, thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this in the audience? Yes, sir?
The
No.
continuance, only the continuance.
Yes, sir, come on up.
9 Magnolia Lane, and as far as the continuance, I have to concur with Mr. Laird. It just seems like there's a lot of information to digest, and I'm sorry, I was not.
Please raise your right hand.
Okay.
Repeat after me. I do hereby swear or affirm
I do hereby swear or affirm
that the testimony I present
that the testimony I present
will be the truth,
will be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
And Ms. Citizen, let me make sure, you have email here submitted on your behalf by your attorney, Mr. Franklin H. Watson, is that correct?
That is correct, yes. It should be here any minute.
Okay.
Okay, just going forward, just making sure
Yes,
it's the
sir.
same person, for the record.
Yes. So if
ahead.
we're talking about the continuance, I think the point was, it's a thick file, as you know. There's a lot of different, items that obviously need to be discussed. Some may be more accessible than others, but again, we're going back to PUD that's going back from 2009. And I think the citizen in general just haven't been privy to all the developments, or some of them were elevated from TRC to, the meeting today. And I think with that in mind, we just need a little bit more transparency, or if nothing else, a little bit of time to digest the information. I think, I'll say this, I think I received a certified letter on Friday. I was not home to take it. But, then again, that's not an excuse. But I went to the post office the next day, got it, and I went in right away to the website, which, where the agenda is normally posted. It was not posted. So there again, it was, Monday or Tuesday before I could call, Monday before I called. At that point, the agenda was still not posted, so we had nothing else really to go by. I was aware of CitizenServe. Mr. Baronti was kind enough, subsequently to let me know that this was available. And that's where I started getting some information. But between that and Labor Day, there was very little time to digest any of this information and just scrutinize it. So that's the reason, I think I concur with Mr. Laird and a lot of the citizens that are concerned in this neighborhood, where they just feel like they just were properly appraised of the situation and had a chance to look things over, because it is a thick file there again. So that's my point. So if we're on the subject of the continuance, that's all I have to say. If there's other things, then we can start later if you'd like.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Sennett?
not for him. Can I ask?
Hold on, then we'll
Okay.
come back to those. Is there anybody else that needs to speak on this? Yes, sir, Mr. Watson.
Can go ahead and swear you in, Frank. I believe you weren't here. I do hereby swear or affirm
I do hereby swear or affirm
that the testimony I present
that the testimony I present
will be the truth,
will be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth. I merely wanted to say is that I'm representing Mr. Sennett that just came up and talked to you. Really, again, I'm asking for a continuance so I can actually get the information that we're talking about, look through. I'm a big property rights believer and think that if somebody can do something with their property, they should be able to. But we haven't had time to be able to digest exactly what we're talking about today. And I think if we're just given that time, then we'll be able to adequately represent what we believe with the project, should or should not go forward, or if there is any issue, come back and talk. And maybe I'll be fine, but there are a number of issues, at the very least, given the timing that we're just asking that we can look at. So the people that have been up here to talk, I obviously just walked in the door, didn't have the benefit of hearing what they had to say, but the intent is to get with Mr. Sennett, talk to Mr. Laird, try to see if whatever concerns they have, and try to come back and voice those in a very accurate manner to talk with y'all in the future if there are issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got any questions for?
Are you also a member of the Florida Bar?
Yes, sir, I am.
So here's just an idea a thought I'd like to verbalize. There seems to be a gap in communication with what's going on,
Well,
and
you know what, Dan, we still haven't heard from the applicant, so they may have some rebuttal on this. If you want to hold off on that, let him tell you his side of the story, and then we can get to your question.
okay.
Because there is another side, so.
Sure, and I appreciate the fact that they have spent a lot of time working on this, and we just haven't had enough time to digest it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Mr. Watson, when were you retained on this?
As far as actually to address this meeting today,
Yeah, we have an email from you in our packet that is Wednesday, September 8 at 4:30. When were you retained relative to that?
like 2 days ago with regards to this meeting, and I didn't get the material to even look at until like 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Is that email?
So on or
was-
about September 7th?
Yes, sir.
That'd be after Labor Day, but
Yes, sir, that's correct. Now, I've dealt with this matter before historically with Mr. Sennett, but as far as actually knowing this was on the agenda and trying to figure out what the situation was, it was this week. That email was
we've had someone else make a comment about a public records request. I know Mr. Baronti's provided everything by Citizen Serve. Have you made any public records requests to the county that are still pending on this at this time?
I've not asked for that. I personally am waiting for documentation that has been given to Mr. Laird, so we all get it at the same time, so I can look at what he's requested. He's the one that actually made public requests, and I'm waiting for that information from him rather than asking for it again and having it regenerated. Because of the timing. I mean, literally 2 days ago.
Mr. Chairman, can we have Mr. Laird address that briefly?
Yes, sir. Mr. Laird?
Mr. Laird, did you make a public records request of Walton County for information on this?
I did.
And when was that public records request made?
Wednesday, and I just
this
received it,
week?
yes, sir. And we just received it Thursday because the holiday coming in Monday, and apparently the constitutional officers recognized this new holiday. There was maybe a Jewish holiday on Tuesday, and they were closed.
No, Rosh Hashanah. Courthouse is closed on that day.
So they were closed. So the fine goes up. We notice it the Friday, the whatever, back up a week, kind of walk you through the timeline of their posting, because we get it the Thursday of the 27th, that it's mailed to the post office. We go pick it up that Thursday evening or whenever it is, late. Friday is just trying to wrap your head around it. Then the weekend, and then it's Labor Day. People are out of town, the Labor Day week. People are in town, so I've got literally 5 days to figure out, hey, kind of David versus Goliath type scenario going, how do I wrap, we've known about it, yes. It's been continued. It was advertised to go to the TRC in February.
And Mr. Laird, if you will,
Sorry, I was just trying to give time.
have you received all the public records you requested this time, or are you still waiting?
I'm still currently waiting on one.
And what is that for the record?
That is the meeting before they took this, my best understanding, because it's not recognized in the minutes, the official minutes, but it's on the audio of, we believe there's some crucial audio that's in the meeting prior to the August 11th, 2009. So they're trying to figure out when this was on the agenda sometime in, what's that, May or April or May of '09, and then trying to find the audio tape so we can understand how it then went from 2009 to the approval in August 11, where they got their final order for this conceptual PUD. Just because the numbers aren't making sense, that's all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Hall, I know you wanted to respond briefly.
Mr. Chairman, remember that the Planning Commission is not the first stage of review for this application. And I think we need to at least make sure that the board understands that there were the same set of public notices which were sent out in March of this year in relation to the TRC meeting. So if we need to go and dig those out, but I've checked with staff and confirmed that this is not the first set of public notices that have gone out on the process.
And I don't know if you can answer this, Mr. Baronti can. Is the document, or is the audio or the minutes he's referring to, would that be available on Citizen Serve or on anything?
I could easily have it in the morning. I mean,
I'm just, we have an outstanding public records request, which is something the county's gonna have to reply to. I just want to make sure that we understand what that is. And to the extent that the comment was made earlier on the record of this board that all the documents they're asking are on Citizen Serve, that's what I'm trying to clarify. If the county hasn't produced a document yet, we're still well within the allowable, reasonable time to research and determine that. But that's why I'm just trying to get clear what is outstanding, if there is anything, so this board can determine whether or not it even has everything it needs to hear both sides of the issue. So
it was, the minutes are kept separate from Citizen Serve, but they are electronic and they can be provided. The motion at the TRC was to conditionally approve pending successful resubmittal of comments. That's a very typical recommendation, at least from me. The comments have been addressed and it was scheduled for the Planning Commission.
if there's nobody else commenting, Mr. Chairman, I think it'd be appropriate to hear the applicant's rebuttal at this time on the, assuming there is rebuttal.
I'm sure there will be. Do we have any other questions from the audience on this, or statements? Okay, we'll close public comments and let the applicant answer these questions.
Am I going to speak to the continuance and the tabling, or?
Yes, the continuance.
Yeah,
And-
yes, sir.
and
You
the-
state your position as to that issue, sir.
I'm surprised. We've been doing this for a year, and I think we've met with these people starting about a year ago. We've been in constant contact with Mr. Sennett through our lawyer. We've been in constant contact through Mr. Watson through our lawyer, and this has gone on for the last 6 months. It's not like they've never, not aware of the project. The project's been going on. We also did a lot of things that we probably weren't required. We had the community meeting, which we did, and we listened. And I have sort of the results of that community meeting, what things that they wanted that we put into the project. If the project changed, it's because they changed it at that time. We also had the TRC, which is not, doesn't need to be notified by mailings, but we went out and did that so that everybody was.
Sent out mailings for the TEC?
We did.
TRC, I'm sorry.
TRC.
Yes.
And that was based on Bob's recommendation and Matt Carpenter. And we thought it was a good idea, but we have notified and notified and notified. So their only reason to continue this or table it is that they don't have the information. It's been public. They could have come down here months ago, and they didn't do it. And all of a sudden they show up and they're trying to just delay this project a little bit more, I think. So that's where we are. But we think we've been in good concert. And I miss, for Mr. Watson or Mr. Sennett, they don't know anything. We sent Mr. Sennett plans so he could see what went on in front of his property. And so this is nothing, you know, what can I say?
Okay, I got one question for you though.
Sure.
You're not interested in delaying this for continuing it for a month so that
No reason to delay it,
just wanna
because
make that clear.
the only reason I see they're asking for a delay is they haven't looked at the information. And I contend they have looked at it for the last 6 months. And this is a move at the last minute just to get it tabled or to get it continued.
All right, just wanted to ask that.
So, can I ask him a question?
Yes, sir. Hold on, Mr. Pope, we got a question for you.
How long have you been working on this, Mr. Pope? A long time. Do you know about how?
Well, yeah, in my regular presentation, we've owned Sanctuary, and they were finished 4 years ago. We've owned the property since 2004.
Okay.
So we've been working on it for 20-some years.
Okay. All right, so
The
let me,
first part. Now, the second part, we've been working on for maybe what we call phase 3. We've been working on it for about 18 months.
okay.
Phase 3, a different part, was this bought separately, or has it all been?
No, it's all one piece. We
Okay.
bought originally about 48 acres. First phase was 33. This one is 14. And then we have a couple acres up front that's commercial on 331,
But you've owned this property for a long time?
2004.
Okay.
Hypothetically speaking, would you be in agreement to consider a postponement for 1 month and put this on the Planning Commission's docket next month, just to clear up any and all questions that people here today have? Do you think 1 month would be reasonable?
The question makes me an unreasonable man if I answer, no, I really don't want to continue. We've been doing this, and it took us a long time to get here. Bob made us cross every T and dot every I. It took a long time to do it right, and we did probably more than we should have done, but we did it because we want to get it done.
I understand, and we have an obligation to serve you, the customer, but we also have an obligation to our citizens as well, and they've got a lot of questions, and I'm trying to come up with a reasonable solution that would satisfy everybody.
Most of their questions were satisfied, or after the community meeting, we heard from them. We understand what their concerns are, and we were able to work quite a few of them into our plan. And so, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than we've been working on it, and they're fully aware of it. I mean, you can look out, they can see sanctuary apartments existing, and they knew we were going to add to it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Pope, is it your position you would be prejudiced by this being continued for a period of time?
Yes, it is my opinion.
And what is your basis of prejudice, or what are you representing to the board would be the prejudice to you as the
We
applicant?
have done everything by the law that we're supposed to do. We've met everything, we've put everything in, and I think anything beyond that is extra.
Would you be harmed in any way by the delay is what I'm asking?
Yes.
And what would that be?
Would be financially, we've been moving ahead. We've got a lot of other consultants in line because we think, or at least we assume that we might be past this time. And so you don't build the apartment units without having some other work being done alongside of it. So we've invested quite a few dollars in just the 94 apartments, 96.
Have you or one of your representatives previously requested a continuance of this submittal?
No.
Do you know if this has been continued previously?
It was because we couldn't make the agenda or was something missing and
But you're saying that was not at your request?
no, I may be wrong.
You do.
Bob, can
You requested it to be continued last month at the planning.
okay, then we did. What was it?
We continued that.
Yeah.
That was on our
Yeah.
short notice.
Well, let's ask him to address that. What was the basis of the continuance last time?
Who you asking? Mr. Pope, could you come up to the microphone so we can?
I just want to get on the record. If he's asserting prejudice, we need to cover that, what that would be. So you're saying it was continued last time because it was short notice for you to prepare?
That's correct. Yeah, we got a late approval on the technical review, and I think we looked at a 2-week window, and we felt we would rather be in front of the September 9th hearing.
I think,
It is, I'll say at this time, it's to the board on your call on a continuance. It is discretionary. The applicant has asserted that there is a potential prejudice or harm. He's asserted it's potentially financial in basis. He has, however, previously continued this matter. I'll defer to the board in your discretion on whether or not to hear it this time or next time, but we would need a motion at this time to either continue or a motion to deny the request to continue. But I believe you're at that point, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And certainly if Mr. Pope has any other things he wanted to add beyond my questions there, I believe he'd wrap those up.
Mr. Senate, we've closed public comments now, so, all right.
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this for 1 month so that the citizens can get the clarification they're requesting.
Okay, you feel like
I don't see, this has been going on, he said, for over 2 decades. If we can put this off for 30 days, the applicant has requested a continuance, and he got it. And now the citizens are requesting a continuance, and I believe we owe that to them for clarification. They've got questions that they don't have answers to, and I believe it's our duty to support the citizens, just like it's our duty to support the developers.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more questions or discussion? Anybody? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
I guess it's up to me then, isn't it? I'm not exactly sure on this one. It's a 50-50.
Can I add one thing?
No, sir, we're in the middle of a vote. As much as I hate to delay y'all, I do think it would be best in the long run for the citizens to get a chance, and after that, they don't get any more. But I do think we should probably give them a shot, as much as I hate to do it to you, because I know the financial side of it. I've been on that side of it, but I'm going to vote I'm going to vote yes on this. So, but I would suggest that the citizens that are asking for this get all the information you can, because there won't be any other delays.
Can I ask when we're postponed to?
Next month.
So,
30 days.
Have 30 days to.
Yeah, 30 days, they have to get their information together and anything, and then we'll be back again.
Mr. Chairman, probably just to make it specific on the record, it's postponed to or
The next commission meeting, whatever.
continued to a time certain at the next meeting. That'll alleviate any additional notice requirements.
Do you amend your motion to conform to that, Mr. Cozen?
okay, a question.
Okay.
Between now and the planning commission meeting next month, do you think it would be good to have the planning department, the planner that's been working on this, where is he?
Bob?
Yes. Do you think it would be advantageous to have a workshop with the citizens and address all their questions?
That's really, unfortunately, kind of outside the ambit of the continuance at this point. I think what we need to do right now is we need to just form up the motion for Mr. Hall. That may be, a separate choice, but I think we need to form up the motion to confirm that you're continuing it to a date certain, with that date to be the next regularly scheduled planning commission agenda.
Okay.
Would you amend your motion to that?
Yes, sir.
Would you amend your second to that? Yep. So that would be, and does the board stand by its vote on those issues? Here, so it's still 3-2. Mr. Chairman, you'll need to signify that motion did pass.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's October the 14th.
Okay.
So yes, I'll agree to that.
Mr. Hall, I do want to ask, does staff have a position or representation on re-advertising cost in this scenario?
If we continue it to a date certain, they don't have to advertise again, do they? Yeah, okay.
That's my understanding, Mr. Attorney, at this point, that the time certain would alleviate the requirement to go through the certified mail process again.
Yeah, and I just want to put that on the record so the public who's here understands they're not going to get another certified mail out. That's not the responsibility of the applicant. And if that was going to be required, my recommendation was going to be that it either be borne by the applicant or by the third party seeking the continuance to avoid additional financial hardship. So it's not required. There will not be additional letters. For those who are representing the people asking continuance, don't expect to get them. The date on the sign will need to be changed.
October the 14th, same place.
So what we can expect is questions from them on October 15th, or they'll have most of their questions satisfied before they come?
Well, I believe.
I think all we're doing is moving everything down the road.
We are. We're giving them a chance to get their ducks in a line to ask you the questions they want to ask you.
And I'm going to step on Mr. Cosen's toes because I don't think at this point after the continuance, we need to get into giving advice one way or the other to the applicant or the public into what they should do. But I believe what Mr. Cosen was ultimately starting to get is would additional workshops be helpful? The public is going to have every right to be here and present for and against this project, just as you will, Mr. Pope, at that future meeting. To the extent that you wish to engage in any processes with the public, and to the extent that you wish to engage staff in involvement with those processes, to the extent that our staff is available, we cannot commit their time. We can't make Mr. Baronti or anybody else from this department with their schedule go out and hold a community workshop. But to the extent you want to have those questions addressed ahead of time, I know this board has always encouraged it, but we can't say do it or don't do it. But the board is saying there will not be any more continuances following that. I think you've had 2 members speak to that point who voted in favor of it. So there'll be no more continuances for third parties seeking more information.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir.
Continuing on in the quasi judicial section of the process, we've got item number 9. We may let the room clear and we'll have Tim Brown come up to make the presentation.
All right, we'll hold off for just a second then. Do what? Yeah. Yeah. Well, Mr. Brown, you ready?
Yep. Good evening, Tim Brown with Planning and Development. This is Bella Rosa Apartments. This is a major developer application submitted by Avcon requesting approval to develop a 150-unit apartment complex with pool amenity and associated infrastructure on 13.23 acres with a future land use of mixed use and conservation and zoning of village mixed use and conservation residential 2-to-1. It's located in District 5. This was approved by the Technical Review Committee on February 3rd. 5-0. It was approved by the Design Review Board on August 5th with a vote of 4-0. The project has 20 staff conditions, including a proportionate fair share contribution of $45,516.38. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask the staff report be entered into the record, and I'll entertain any questions the board may have.
Questions for staff?
Are you familiar with all the multi-uses of this property?
What do you mean the multi-uses?
Well, last time we had a meeting, and something of this nature was presented, it was just, it didn't turn out good because they didn't have sufficient parking. And has all that been looked at here? Or?
Yeah, they've addressed it. It's in the package. I think they've got a fair amount over their parking that they need. So, yeah, they've addressed it.
Yeah, they qualified for the 20% reduction, which made the requirement 228 spaces. They're proposing 263, including 12 handicap spaces, which is, I believe, more than what's required.
Where are they at on the density?
Village mixed use allows for 12 units per acre. They're at 11.34. So they're pretty close to the max.
Are they having any buyouts?
No.
They're building sidewalks and all
Yes.
that?
The only thing is the proportionate fair share for Highway 98.
Anything else?
And they're not putting anything in the conservation 2-to-1. They're getting a little bit of density from that area, but they're not building anything.
There's no impacts on it.
Except
Right.
the entrance.
Right.
One of the entrances is through that area.
Got you.
So they're basically going for maximum density.
They're pretty close to maxing it out, yes. But it's allowed under the zoning.
Yeah. Common. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, you give them a range, they're gonna try to go the upper range, but I think the ranges are comfortable ranges for this county.
Okay.
They did have to reduce it slightly. I think it originally came in, it was either 151 or 152 units, but because of the wetlands and floodplain, they had to reconfigure it. It actually went to the design review board twice because they had to reconfigure based on, because they're trying not to impact the wetlands. They're trying to not impact those, and of course you've got the 25-foot wetland buffer, so they had to rearrange it a little, and I may be wrong, but I think they lost 2 units. I think it went from 152 to 150, but they are in line with all that. They're showing the 25-foot buffer. They have minimal impacts to the wetlands.
Any other questions for staff?
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Tanya Nation. I'm with AvCon. We're the engineers and representatives for the client, and he is also here as well. And this project is 150 units. We have gone through great extents to ensure that we preserved as much of the existing conservation areas. This site is at 37% impervious, so that we, and I went ahead and put together a little fly-through of the complex to show all of the nature areas that we have preserved all throughout the community. We've got significant buffers along Sugar Drive, and preserving that conservation residential parcel allowed us to provide a large buffer there, so that will remain in conservation and it will remain natural. We have a system of trails throughout. We have, in order to protect the wetlands, particularly along 98, we even have a boardwalk proposed instead of doing the sidewalk that's you traditionally see. Because this area, there are some low-lying areas, and we wanted to ensure that we prevented any type of wetland impacts that would be generated from those sidewalks. So you can see we even have a small roadway connecting the 2 parts of the site that traverse in the upland through the wetland areas, leaving all of those areas to be natural. We've got good connectivity. Everything meets ADA. This will provide sidewalks along Sugar Drive and 98. So when future developments come in, they will provide connectivity in that area that's much needed. Let's see here. We do exceed the parking requirements. And this is intended not for short-term use. This is a development intended to provide housing, which is very needed, at a market price that will allow our teachers and the boomers that are moving into the area, people that are moving in that don't necessarily or cannot necessarily afford a house in South Walton. And this will be a great opportunity to live in a conservation community. We called it Bella Rosa in the Pines because it is set in the pines, and we've got lots of natural vegetation throughout.
I couldn't help but notice in the flyover all the bicycles. So this is bicycle friendly, and you have connecting bicycle trails and stuff like that?
Throughout the community, unfortunately, 98, there is just not a lot of sidewalks available for that. DOT does have bicycle lanes on 98.
I'm familiar with that.
But DOT is moving towards providing connectivity with sidewalks. Not this project related, but I have been working with DOT through the Friends of Scenic 30A, just as a completely separate sidebar, to try to get ultimately connectivity so that people can have connectivity from 30A up onto 98 and complete that loop and make sure that there is connectivity in their ultimate plan. But that's a sidebar. But this will be a part of that. So when DOT does come in, this system will connect up to that, or when other people start developing in this area.
Are you the engineer?
Yes, I am.
And you're from?
I am from Destin originally, yes. I know, not many people grew up in Destin, but I did. And I live here in Walton County as well.
You look familiar.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
Well,
you've been here before.
Yes, I've been here before. I've actually been working in Walton County for over 21 years, so.
All right, any other questions for the applicant? I like the flower, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
Really neat.
I thought it'd be good. This one really, this project really showing all the conservation, it really gives you a good sense of what we are preserving. And this is a great opportunity to do something right and to really preserve those natural areas.
It's a good presentation. That
Thank you.
really shows it well. All right, any other questions? Okay, we'll open it to public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Hall, I think that's our last one, isn't it?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn. Somebody.
Yeah, second. I'll move to adjourn.
I can't do anything but make the last vote.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I don't know how'd y'all get through the first one so quick.
We blew through everything.
Yeah.